Hi everybody, in this video, I'm going to tell you a bit about Trump getting shot and what it means for raising money if you want to acquire more real estate assets or business assets. So, President Trump, or I guess former President Trump, got shot by a bullet that nicked his ear. And what does that mean for the markets? What does that mean for raising money? How does that affect raising money? So I guess there are a few ways of looking at it. You know, one way may be the perception of him going to win, like what it means if he's going to win. Because the thing is that if President Trump is going to win, which it seems like it's more likely so, especially after what happened, because he seems to be more, it's almost like he's going through a messianic type of hero's arc. Well, that's the perception. You know, because of him being the victim of getting shot and him heroically having that iconic photo with the fist up saying fight, fight, fight. That was a really iconic photo. It's probably one of the best photos that I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm not saying that, like, regardless of whatever you think of it, it's as if the photo is, that's why some people are saying it's staged, because the photo is just too good. But in any event, it just makes it more likely that he's going to win. He basically won, unless more events happen. So if Trump wins, what our CFA, Dr. Joshua Gogo was saying, Dr. Joshua Gogo helps us in economics, he's a PhD and so on. The only thing is that the way that things are, it seems as if national spending is getting a bit tight here, because we're at the point, so I guess the United States is at the point where national spending is very, like, it's really hard to sell people on the idea of lowering national spending, number one. Number two, the interest payments that the US has exceeded, I believe, $1 trillion, and it exceeds the price that they're paying for military spending. So the third thing is, there's going to be some austerity measures needed, because if you have so much national spending in the economy, it's going to be so hard to continue to sell the idea of building more programs. It's more about what are we cutting down. So it looks like, based on the Republicans winning, there'll be more of a push to just lower. It's more pick and choose. They wouldn't be able to just accept new reasons to spend money. It'll be more of, let's choose what we're going to spend money on. You know, so that may be a big focus going into the next election. Where are we going to spend money on? Looking at the past, there is obviously huge reduction. So I don't know if in a description, look at something called Project 2025. There's going to be a big focus on reducing regulation, reducing taxes and reducing regulation if Trump wins. So reducing, let's just talk about both for a second. So reducing taxes, I mean, obviously that affects everybody. You know, 1031 exchanges, opportunity zones. You know, I guess a lot of people will be able to reduce their taxes, which obviously business owners want. You know, another thing is when you look at the reduction of regulation, because the United States seems to be a peculiar country in one respect. The government agencies are very driven by who, like whether the Republicans in power or the Democrats in power. Canada isn't like that, for example. I know a lot of other countries that are like that, but Gary Gensler, who is I believe the chair of the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, has been pretty strict on people that set up especially small funds. Because if you go to the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, that's the government agency that regulates securities and things like that. Basically, people who are usually watching this video, a lot of people are, like, a lot of them are pretty strict. Like they're pretty strict, especially with this administration. And in general, usually Republicans are more lax on regulation. They're more about libertarianism and not worrying so much and not being so obsessed with controlling, like having government control you. They don't want to have government control anything that you do. Generally, when you talk about libertarians, they generally want it to be more free. They want people to be more free markets. They don't want any government intervention. They want minimal to no regulation, especially when people want are more Republican, more right wing, more libertarian. And libertarianism and being libertarian, obviously, and being right wing is not really congruent. But a lot of libertarians happen to be right wing. So, anyways, less regulation, and the way that'll impact you, I mean, there'll be less, less pressure if you want to set up a fund, you want to raise money, you want to talk to investors. There'll be less pressure. In general, Canada is definitely more of a left. It's definitely more left than the U.S. in general. So there is a lot of regulation when it comes to that. And I'm not saying regulation is good or bad. I'm just saying the facts here. That's generally how it is. And there's definitely more red tape and more investor protection red tape, because there's a need for they feel a need. Usually on the left, there's more of a need for there's a perceived need for government agencies to protect people, because people don't take as much accountability. And then obviously there's systems that prevent people from going up, but people don't take as much accountability on the other side. So if you look at press releases from the SEC, you see a lot of recent press releases about what they're targeting. There was also a lot of targeting on cryptocurrency companies. And I don't do anything with cryptocurrency companies these days, or not as much. But there was definitely, with Gary Gensler, the new administration in the SEC, a lot of crackdown on people that were perceived as, hey, you can do business. And Bitcoin being called a security, and Coinbase and tons of companies being, going through heavy litigation. I believe we even saw on the capital raising side, I believe WeFunder go through litigation with the SEC and fines from the SEC. And I believe that's underneath this new administration. Gary there, who's more strict than the other guy, who was more lenient, especially during the cryptocurrency boom. I believe that was during Trump's time. So there is a big effect of if, Trump, like who's there, who's in power, and then how that affects people, right? When you want to raise money politically. And I'm not a political expert, but these are just my thoughts. So those are some of my thoughts in general. And you just expect less regulation if Trump wins. Less regulation, and obviously there'll be problems, but less regulation, less tax, more libertarian ideas. Some of the downsides, I guess, would be, if you're doing like all the solar hype would definitely slow down. Biden is probably getting out of office. Obviously he's getting out of office, like 90% chance based on what I'm seeing, unless they had to bring somebody else. But all the money people are making on solar is really going to slow down. I think all the government incentives are going to be shut down. If you read Project 2025, everything will be shut down when it comes to, solar roofing, solar companies, climate. Another thing that'll be shut down too. So more regulation on AI and responsible AI, because AI, there are a lot of people that are trying to make sure that AI isn't, like, for example, racist, that it's, that it's not taking information from too much, like, how can I even say this on YouTube? So people are making sure that the AI doesn't take biased data sets and discriminates against people. So for example, if you have an AI that you program to a store and says that if there's a black person, the black person's a crook. There are a lot of government programs that are funding people from, they're trying to prevent people from saying that, hey, these things are calling people racist. But a lot of that's going to be stopped because, the right-wing side doesn't really believe in having all that. They just want to remove all that stuff. So it's good and it's bad. It's good in the sense of there'll be less regulation, more speed. It's bad in the sense that you may have defective products that are too biased on one side. So it's a mixed bag. And just be a capitalist, or observe the capitalist system and take advantage of it as you want. Know that you're going to be able to do small funds with less regulation. Know that the tax audits and the tax incentives will go way up. Know that anything with climate, anything with responsible AI, all that will be basically shut down. Know that in your HR departments, less people are probably going to, there's going to be less of a push on ESG, which is another thing I didn't talk about. ESG is just economic, social governance. Fortune 500 companies are pretty much pressured to, push this idea of like, hey, we have to hire people that are black, that are non-white. We have to focus on governance. We have to do social good. A lot of that's going to be deprioritized, if Trump wins, which it seems as if he will. And yeah, so those are the main things I'm noticing. So this was just an informal video, just me, rambling about how Trump winning is going to affect us. But if this is something that you'd like to learn more about, and maybe if you want to talk to me or my team about setting up a fund so you can raise money, hopefully in the US or a country that you can actually do it in pretty smoothly and easily, make sure that you click the link in the description, and we'll see you in the next video.